You know that feeling, that specific panic? The one where your eyes just snap open, you look at your phone, and you realize you've already lost the battle for the day.
The battle is over.
Yeah, you stayed up too late, doom scrolling, you hit snooze maybe 3 times, maybe 6, and now you are just sprinting.
Oh, yeah.
You skip breakfast, can't find your keys, you hit every single red light, and you arrive at work feeling, I don't know, vibrationally anxious.
The frazzled start. It's a classic for a reason. And honestly, it's how most of the world operates.
It really is the universal morning struggle. And I think most of us just assume, well, I'm just not a morning person, or my life is just chaotic. But today, we're doing a deep dive into 2 sources that basically say, stop accepting the chaos.
Exactly. We're looking at a fascinating combination of texts today. On one hand, we have Morning Momentum, which is this very tactical, almost aggressive guide to building habits. Interestingly, it's actually designed for English learners, but the psychology is totally universal.
Right.
And then we're contrasting that with a piece called The Architecture of a Quiet Winter Morning.
Which I have to say sounds like a poetry collection.
It is much softer, yes. It's more reflective, atmospheric. But when you layer these 2 together, you get a really complete picture of how to fix your morning.
Okay.
You get the tactics from one and the vibe from the other.
And the mission today isn't to tell everyone to join the 5 a.m. club, right? Because I feel like every productivity deep dive eventually just yells at me to wake up at 4 a.m., take an ice bath, and run a marathon.
No, thankfully. The mission here is to decode a routine that is not about hustle culture. It's about intentionality.
Okay.
The core philosophy these sources share is that the morning is the direction setter. If you start reactive, you spend the whole day dodging bullets. If you start proactive,
Yeah,
you're the one in charge.
I like that direction setter. So let's get into the traps. Because I have tried to fix my morning routine a dozen times, usually on January 1st.
Of course.
And usually by January 4th, I'm back to hitting snooze and hating everything. So why do we fail?
So Morning Momentum identifies this specifically as the 5 a.m. myth. There's this pervasive idea that success equals waking up at some ungodly hour. We see CEOs doing it, so we think we have to.
Right.
But the source argues that if you usually wake up at 8 a.m. and you set your alarm for 5 a.m., you are biologically setting yourself up to crash.
Because it's just too big of a jump.
It's a shock to the system. It creates a massive sleep debt immediately. Big changes, they tend to snap back like a rubber band. You might do it for 3 days on pure willpower, but then your body just rebels. So the source pushes for micro shifts. Just wake up 20 minutes earlier.
20 minutes seems so insignificant. Can you actually change your life in 20 minutes? It barely seems worth the effort of even changing the alarm.
It's not about the duration. It's about the consistency. It's about the lack of panic. If you can reclaim 20 minutes of calm, that is so much better than 2 hours of misery that you only sustain for 3 days.
Okay.
But, and here's the catch, you can't just wake up earlier. You have to treat the morning as a process that really starts the night before.
Ah, this is the future self concept, right?
Right. Morning Momentum is huge on this. It frames preparation as an act of kindness to your future self.
Yeah.
You know that version of you that wakes up groggy, maybe a bit grumpy?
I know him well. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you need to help him out. The source talks about decision fatigue. We have a limited battery of willpower every day.
Right?
If you burn 10% of that battery at 7 a.m. trying to decide which shirt to wear, or hunting for your laptop charger, that's 10% less energy you have for your actual work.
So the idea is to outsource those decisions to the nighttime you who is, awake and rational.
Precisely. Laying out your clothes, packing the bag, even prepping the coffee machine so it's just one button press.
Yeah.
It reduces the activation energy required to start the day.
But let me play devil's advocate here. By the time I get to the night before, I am exhausted. The last thing I want to do is pack a bag or choose an outfit. I just want to collapse.
That's fair. But the sources argue that this is the trade-off. If you collapse without prepping, you are borrowing energy from your morning self, and with high interest. And speaking of collapsing, both sources are very clear on the biological reality. Earlier mornings require earlier bedtimes. You cannot cheat sleep.
So if I want that 20 minutes in the morning, I have to sacrifice 20 minutes of Netflix at night.
Roughly, yes.
Oh.
You can't burn the candle at both ends and expect to have momentum.
Okay, let's say we've done the prep. We've been kind to our future selves. The alarm goes off 20 minutes early. We're awake. Now, what do we actually do? Because this is where the architecture of a quiet winter morning really fascinated me. It felt very cozy. But is cozy productive?
Well, it's all about the sensory environment. And cortisol. Think of the typical morning.
Mm-hmm.
Scary alarm noise, bright fluorescent lights.
Checking emails immediately.
Yes. It's an assault on the senses.
It's fight or flight mode from the second you wake up.
Exactly. Your body thinks it's under attack. The winter morning source argues for a soft start. It talks about lighting specifically, avoiding the big overhead light, the big light, as people say, and using lamps or even candles.
Candles in the morning, that feels very decadent. I feel like I should be conducting a seance, not getting ready for work.
It does sound like that, but it signals safety to the brain. It says, we are waking up, but there is no tiger chasing us. And the audio environment is huge here, too.
I am so guilty of this. I wake up and immediately put on a news podcast or a YouTube video. I feel like I need to catch up on what happened while I was asleep.
Which immediately spikes your cortisol. You're injecting the world's stress into your brain before you've even brushed your teeth.
Right.
The source suggests focus sounds or slow instrumental music or honestly just silence. But the biggest factor in the soft start is what you don't do.
The phone.
The phone. The no phone rule is the one thing both sources agree on 100%.
It is so hard, though. It's right there on the nightstand. It's my alarm clock. It's my connection to the world.
But think about the mechanism. When you scroll, you're getting hits of dopamine, sure, but you're also flooding your working memory with other people's lives, their problems, and advertisements. The winter morning source describes avoiding the phone as liberation.
That's a strong word. Liberation. Like we are prisoners to the algorithm.
In the morning, we really are. If you look at your phone first, you are reacting to the world. If you don't, you are acting on your own terms. And that leads us to the M word, mindfulness.
Okay, can we be real for a second? Whenever I hear mindfulness or meditation in these guides, I just zone out. I picture a monk on a mountaintop, and I think, I don't have the patience for that. I have tried, and I just sit there thinking about my grocery list.
And you are not alone. That's why Morning Momentum is so refreshing. It explicitly says you do not need a 30-minute session. You don't need to clear your mind completely. 1 minute is enough.
1 minute. What can you possibly achieve in 1 minute?
So there's this beautiful analogy in the text that explains the biology of it. Imagine a glass of water filled with sand and dirt. If you keep shaking it, which is our rush, our scrolling, our panic, it stays cloudy. You can't see through it.
Right.
If you put the glass down on the table for just 1 minute.
The sediment settles.
Yeah, exactly. The water becomes clear. You don't need to force the water to be clear. You just have to stop shaking it. That's what 1 minute of deep breathing or gratitude does. It lets the sediment settle so you have cognitive clarity for the day.
I love that visual. So it's not about achieving nirvana. It's just about letting the dirt settle to the bottom.
Precisely. It's a physiological reset.
So the water has settled. We're feeling a bit more present. Now, the architecture of a quiet winter morning suggests we need to clean house mentally. It talks about journaling. But again, I struggle with this. Dear Diary, today I woke up. It feels childish.
The source actually pivots away from that Dear Diary approach. It calls it the brain dump. And to respect your intelligence here, we should look at this through the lens of cognitive load theory.
Okay, let's get technical. What's happening in the brain?
Your working memory, your brain's RAM, it has limited space. If you're holding on to a reminder to buy milk, a worry about an email you need to send, and a frustration about yesterday's traffic, those are all open loops taking up processing power.
So journaling isn't about writing literature. It's about freeing up RAM.
100%. The source is clear. This is not for an audience. It doesn't need to be coherent. It's garbage collection. Write down the tasks, the worries, the random thoughts. Get them out of your head and onto the paper. Once they're captured, your brain can stop expending energy trying to hold them.
That makes it feel much more practical. It's a tool, not an art project. I don't have to worry about my handwriting.
No one is going to read it. You can burn it afterwards if you want. It's just about clearing the cache.
Okay, moving on. We've prepped, we've had a soft start, we've dumped our brain cache. Now we need some energy, physical momentum.
Yes. And here we see a fun divergence between the two sources.
Morning momentum has the most unexpected suggestion I've seen in a productivity guide.
The dancing.
The dancing.
Yeah.
They suggest putting on an upbeat song, specifically in English if you're learning the language, and just dancing while you get ready.
It sounds silly, doesn't it? But think about the physiology. You're spiking your heart rate. You're getting blood to the prefrontal cortex. And by listening to lyrics, you're engaging the language centers of your brain. It wakes up the body and the mind at the same time.
I tried this yesterday, actually, just to test it out for the show. I felt ridiculous. I looked ridiculous, but I was definitely awake.
It works. It breaks the lethargy. But if dancing isn't your vibe, or if you have roommates who might judge you, the winter morning source takes a more measured approach. It emphasizes consistency over intensity.
This is the idea that you don't need to do, a full CrossFit workout every morning to be healthy.
Right. The trap we fall into is thinking, if I can't do a 45-minute intense workout, I shouldn't do anything. The source says, just move, stretch, do 10 push-ups. It's about the habit of movement, proving to yourself that you are an active person.
And fueling that active person is the next step, the balanced breakfast. Now, I'm usually a coffee and go person, maybe a bagel if I'm lucky, but the winter morning source gets really specific about the chemistry of breakfast.
It does. It argues against the typical carb-heavy or sugar-heavy breakfast. If you just have a bagel or sugary cereal, you get a glucose spike, followed by a crash around 10:30 a.m.
The mid-morning slump.
Exactly. The source suggests a specific composition to avoid that. Protein to keep you full, fiber, usually greens or fruit for slow digestion, carbs for energy, and healthy fats for cognitive function.
But practically, who has time to cook a 4-course meal with greens and healthy fats in the morning, even with the 20 extra minutes?
That's the key. It doesn't have to be a meal in the culinary sense. A hard-boiled egg, a handful of spinach, some toast, or a smoothie. The source emphasizes eating what sounds good psychologically, but ensuring those macros are there biologically. It prevents the brain fog later.
So it's about fuel efficiency, not gourmet cooking.
Correct.
Now, I want to pivot to something that I think is really the unique value prop of these sources. We're talking about morning momentum, which, as we mentioned, is a guide for learners, and they introduce this concept of stacking.
This is crucial for anyone who feels like they have no time. We all say, I'd love to learn Spanish or I'd love to read more about history, but we're just too busy.
Stacking is the answer.
It is. It's the idea of integrating learning into habits that already exist. You're already making coffee. You're already brushing your teeth.
So instead of those being dead time, they become active time.
Exactly. Morning momentum gives specific tactics. Listen to a podcast like this one while the coffee brews. Read one short article while eating that balanced breakfast.
There was one tactic that I found particularly brave and honestly really awkward. Speaking to yourself.
Yes. Narrating your life.
I am finding my keys. I am walking to the door. The coffee is hot.
It feels incredibly strange to do. But for language learners, it's gold because you are bridging the gap between thinking and speaking in a low-stakes environment. No one is judging your grammar.
But even for non-language learners, I feel like this has value. If I say out loud, I am putting my keys in my bag, I am creating an auditory memory. I'm not going to lose them later.
That's a great point. It reinforces the action. It forces you to be present in the moment rather than on autopilot. You can't narrate your life if you're zoning out.
Speaking of language, I noticed Morning Momentum had a vocabulary spotlight. Usually I skip those sections in books, but 3 words just jumped out at me because they felt like they summarized this entire philosophy we've been discussing.
I know exactly which ones you mean. They really do frame the whole discussion.
The first one was frazzled.
Frazzled. That specific feeling of being worn out, stressed, scattered like electrical wires exposed. That is the enemy. That's the universal morning struggle we talked about at the start.
Yeah.
The whole point of this routine is to eliminate the state of being frazzled.
The second word, accountability.
Taking responsibility. This is the night before prep. This is realizing that no one else is going to fix your morning for you. You have to show up for your future self. It's not about guilt. It's about ownership.
And the third, which I think is the destination that we're all trying to reach, centered.
Calm. Balanced.
Yeah.
Not easily knocked off course. When you do the soft start, the brain dump, the movement, you walk out the door feeling centered. Even if traffic is bad, you have a center of gravity that keeps you stable.
Frazzled versus centered. That's the choice we make when the alarm goes off.
It really is.
Okay, so we've designed this beautiful morning. We are centered. But now reality hits. We have to work. We have to open the laptop and face the deluge of emails. How do we transition without losing all that zen we just built?
This is the bridge. The architecture of a quiet winter morning talks about resetting the space.
Meaning cleaning up.
Yes, but specifically your immediate environment. Washing the breakfast dish, tidying the papers on your desk. The source argues that visual noise creates mental noise.
I definitely feel that. If I sit down to work and there's a pile of laundry next to me or dirty dishes, part of my brain is running a background process just thinking about that mess.
Exactly. Clear the space, clear the mind. It signals to your brain. The morning routine is done, work is beginning, and morning momentum adds one final layer. Tracking.
The habit tracker. Ticking the boxes.
It sounds bureaucratic, and some people hate it, but it's powerful. Ticking a box that says, I did my morning routine, gives you a tiny hit of dopamine. It's a visual record that you are keeping promises to yourself.
It's about celebrating the small win before the work even starts. So you're already successful before 9:00 a.m.
And that builds the momentum to keep doing it tomorrow. Because let's be honest, you will fail some days, you will sleep in. But the tracker helps you get back on the horse.
So let's synthesize this. We've covered a lot of ground. If we mash these two sources together, the tactical drill sergeant and the cozy poet, what does the deep dive ideal morning actually look like?
It's a hybrid. It starts the night before, packing your bag so you don't have to think. You wake up 20 minutes earlier, not 3 hours earlier. Use soft light, no big overheads. You take 1 minute to let the mental water settle. You dump your worries into a journal to clear your RAM. You move your body, maybe a little dance, maybe a stretch. You stack a tiny bit of learning on top of your coffee. You reset your space, and then you begin.
It sounds humane. That's the word that comes to mind. It doesn't sound like a boot camp, but it also doesn't sound lazy.
It's sustainable. And that brings us to the so what. Why does this matter? It matters because it stops the scramble. It allows you to step into the life your future self actually wants to live. You aren't just surviving the morning, you are designing it.
Designing the morning to design the day. I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. Something from the winter morning source that really challenged me. It was about rest.
Oh, this is a powerful point to end on. It changes the paradigm entirely.
We usually think of rest, seeing with tea, reading for 10 minutes, just breathing as a reward. Like, if I work hard enough, I earn a break.
Right. I'll relax when I'm done, but you're never done.
Exactly. But the source asks a provocative question. What happens if you treat rest as a baseline requirement rather than a reward?
That flips the whole script. You don't earn the right to breathe. You don't earn the right to be calm. You require those things to function as a human being. If you start your day with rest as your baseline, everything you do afterwards comes from a place of abundance, not depletion.
You aren't working to earn rest. You are resting so you can do good work.
That is the secret. That is how you maintain the momentum without burning out.
Rest as a baseline. That is going to stick with me. I'm going to try to remember that when I reach for my phone tomorrow morning. Thank you so much for breaking this down with us. It's been a pleasure.
And to everyone listening, good luck with tomorrow morning. Be kind to your future self. We'll see you in the next deep dive.